Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Sadi Gopi Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Sadi Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachade Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachade Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Sadi Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachade Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Lalita Vishakha Radhesham Lalita Vishakha Radhesham Lalita Vishakha Jaya Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Prabhupada Shri Harinam Sankirtan Yage ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad-gītā ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Om Magindamiram Vishaginandanam Shokaya Chaksuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kriva Sindhubevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Utai Mahaprema, Purvibur Nirvakshadar Pushapurusha, Bhuntevanam, Sadasa Sadasatmaka, Ilang Krishishta Bhagavan Vacham Sime. Hare Krishna. So we're going to be reading Bhagavad-gītā chapter 6, Dhyāna-yoga. Text number 7, and in Hindi was the same text or different? Different. Okay, so you'll have some variety, which is the mother of enjoyment, hopefully. Let's begin by offering our respects to Lord Vasudev. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jitātmanaḥ praśāntasya. Jitātmanaḥ praśāntasya. Paramātmā samāhitaḥ. Paramātmā samāhitaḥ. Śīta sukha duḥkheṣu. Śīta sukha duḥkheṣu. tathāmanaḥ-pamānayoh. tathāmanaḥ-pamānayoh. Jita-ātmanaḥ praśāntasya. Paramātmā samāhitaḥ. Śīta sukha duḥkheṣu. 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 tathāmanaḥ-pamānayoh. jita-ātmanaḥ. Of one who has conquered his mind. Praśāntasya. Who has attained tranquillity by such control over the mind. Paramātmā. The Supersoul. Samāhitaḥ. Approached completely. Śīta. In cold. uṣṇa. Heat. Sukha. Happiness. duḥkheṣu. And distress. Tatha. Also. Mana. In honor. Apamānayoh. And dishonor. Translation purported by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. For one who has conquered his mind, conquered the mind, the Supersoul is already reached, for he has attained tranquillity. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. Purport. Actually, every living entity is intended to abide by the dictation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is seated in everyone's heart as Paramātmā. When the mind is misled by the external, illusory energy, one becomes entangled in material activities. Therefore, as soon as one's mind is controlled through one of the yoga systems, one should be considered to have already reached the destination. One has to abide by superior dictation. When one's mind is fixed on the supreme superior nature, he has no alternative but to follow the dictation of the Supreme. The mind must admit some superior dictation and follow it. The effect of controlling the mind is that one automatically follows the dictation of the Paramātmā or Supersoul. Because this transcendental position is at once achieved by one who is in Krishna consciousness, the devotee of the Lord is unaffected by the dualities of material existence, namely distress and happiness, cold and heat, etc. This state is practical samadhi or absorption in the Supreme. Hare Krishna. Jita-ātmanaḥ praśāntasya Paramātmā samāhitaḥ uṣṇa sukha duḥkheṣu Dhyāna-yoga. For one who has conquered the mind, the Supersoul is already reached, for he has attained tranquillity. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. So this chapter is entitled Dhyāna-yoga, and Dhyan means meditation on the Supreme in the form of Paramātmā. So this is the perfection of Ashtanga Yoga, because Ashtanga Yoga is consisting of 8 stages, as we know: Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. So Dhyan is very exalted state level of yoga, the seventh out of 8 stages of yoga, and the purpose is to attain the Supersoul. So this is Dhyan. And Samadhi means to follow the dictation of the Supersoul. So that's the entire process of yoga. And of course then, if one follows the dictations of the Supersoul, one will be engaged in devotional service, which is the matter of the middle 6 chapters of Bhagavad-gita, because as we know, Bhagavad-gita is divided into 3 equal parts. First 6 chapters dedicated to karma-yoga, practical activities for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. Then middle 6 chapters are bhakti-yoga, which is pure devotional service, and last 6 chapters are jnana-yoga, which is to understand ourselves, the Lord, our relationship, and everything connected to that. And so, we can see that why Bhagavad-gita is Yoga Shastra, because it clearly follows these stages. So from Dhyan, which is the final chapter of the first 6 chapters of Karma Yoga section, into Samadhi, which is Bhakti Yoga. The 7th chapter starts with explanation how to Krishna explains how one can be absorbed in him. Shri Bhagavan vachamaya sakta-manaḥ parta yogam yunjan madashaya asamshayam samagramam yathagyasya sitatshinu. So Krishna says, please hear now how you can become completely absorbed in me, develop your attachment to me, asakta. One's mind, manaha, should become attached to the Lord. Now it's not attached to the Lord so much, it's attached to so many other things. And so this is the purpose of yoga. Yoga yunjan madashaya. Connect with the Supreme Lord and madashaya. Take full shelter of Him. And asamshaya. In this way one becomes completely free from doubts. So, therefore, even though for us this is not the topmost achievement, connecting to the Supersoul, for us the topmost achievement is connecting to the devotional service, fully engaged in devotional service of the Supreme Lord. Nevertheless, connection to the Supersoul is also intermediate stage, which is very important, as we understand in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd chapter. That's very clearly explained. Vadanti tattva vidas tattvam yad jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdyate. So the absolute truth is realized in 3 stages: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. And Paramatma is the middle stage, which is also very important for practicing transcendentalist. And Krishna in here is explaining what is the effect of conquering the mind, and that is achieving the Supersoul. So basically speaking, at the stage of perfection, we will be always listening to the Supersoul and doing what the Supersoul is telling us to do. But right now, unfortunately, we are listening to the voice of our mind. That's why we cannot hear the voice of the Supersoul. It's like if someone's telling you something very softly and someone else is screaming and shouting, you would be listening to the one who is screaming and shouting, not being able to listen to the one who is telling something in a soft voice. So in the same way, the mind is screaming and shouting and demanding something always. Children are very much controlled by their minds, and so sometimes children can scream and shout so loudly everyone gets distracted completely from whatever else they're doing. So in the same way, the mind as a naughty child is always distracting us from actually understanding, listening and understanding the Supersoul. Because mind is always attached to duality. So this is the nature of the mind, sankalpa and vikalpa, always accepting something which is trying to accept something which the mind is considering to be good for sense gratification, rejecting something which seems to be bad for sense gratification. So that's why the first stage in yoga is learn how to control the mind. And the mind is always, either attracted by something or repulsed by something. It's either hankering or lamenting. Ichadvesha samutenas dvandva mohena bharata. So we can understand that this is the duality of this material world. We either have icha or dvesha. And so that's why this is the first important step we have to take, which is come out of the duality. So how do we do that? Of course, mantra, we are chanting Hare Krishna, but there are different levels of chanting Hare Krishna also, right? Namaparat, Namabhas, Shuddhanam. And if we chant Namaparat, it's very hard to control the mind by that. So, and also, if it would be totally sufficient to become perfected by the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, then, why Srila Prabhupada spent so much time and effort in giving us all the scriptures and everything else and other processes of devotional service, such as deity worship and association with devotees and residing in a holy place, etc., etc. Because, well, in one sense, it is true that by chanting Hare Krishna alone, one can attain perfection. And incidentally, it doesn't even matter how we chant. It's very interesting. Because anybody knows where the information about the importance of Hare Krishna mantra for our age is coming from? Yes, thank you, Guru. So very important Upanishad, Kali-Santaran Upanishad, which is conversation between Narad Muni and Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma answering the question of Narad Muni, how people in Kali-yuga can be liberated, is explaining that the only way is 16 special words, which are 16 special names of the Supreme Lord, Itisha Dashakam Namnam Kalikalmashanashanam, which can totally destroy all the evil effects of Kali-yuga. And Nata Paratarampaya Sarva Videshu Drishyate. That's why even if one will look through the entire Vedic literature, there is no opportunity to find better means for that, for attaining perfection in Kali-yuga, to become liberated from all the Kali Kalmasha, from all the contamination of Kali-yuga. So, and yeah, after this verse, it's explaining what are these 16 special names of the Supreme Lord, and of course, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And in a very similar way to what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in the second verse of Shikshashtakam prayers, Tatrarpita niyamita smarananda kalaha, that there are no niyam, there are no strict regulations in chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Anyone can chant the Hare Krishna mantra at any time, under any conditions. You can chant Hare Krishna while standing, while sitting, while laying, while you're asleep. Some devotees really like to do that. Chant Hare Krishna and sleep. Combine the two processes, especially in the morning. So, and while driving, of course, not recommended to chant on your beats because it's dangerous, right? But without beats, for example, if you have the finger counter, yeah, no problem. You can chant Hare Krishna while driving. So there are no restrictions. Absolutely none. There is no pure or impure state for chanting Hare Krishna. As we know, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu one time, he was always chanting Hare Krishna, but then he went to the toilet and he pressed his tongue, he bit his tongue to prevent it from chanting Hare Krishna. And when he came out, one boy, he said, and this boy's name was Gopal, and he said, my Lord, why did you pause in chanting Hare Krishna? And Mahaprabhu said, well, I went to bathroom, I went to toilet, it was not clean place, so I prevented my tongue from chanting Hare Krishna. But the boy said, you're saying there are no rules in chanting, but then suddenly there is a rule that you cannot chant in the toilet. What if someone leaves their body in the toilet? So, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, wow, you are so smart. You are my guru. So he started calling this boy Gopal Guru. And later he became Gopal Guru Goswami. And of course he attained samadhi here in Vrindavan. His murti is here, and the place where he entered samadhi is also here. So, yeah, there are no rules, absolutely none. But then, we might be wondering, if there are no rules, how come Padma Puran lists all these offenses against the holy name, right? And the acharyas are stressing all these offenses, and Srila Prabhupada is stressing, that all the offenses are so important that we chant them every morning in the temple. So why? Seems to be a contradiction. But actually, it is true that there are no rules. You can chant Hare Krishna absolutely under any condition. And Hare Krishna mantra is so powerful that in itself, it will help us to counteract all the offenses. That's why the initial stage is always Nama Parad. Then Nama Bas means, trying to counteract all the offenses, trying to chant more attentively. But the problem with the offenses, if we do not try to overcome the offenses, if we will feel that it's okay to commit offenses, unfortunately, we might lose interest in devotional association and in spiritual practices. And basically speaking, offenses, the only problem with the offenses, if we are not careful about them, that they might stop us from chanting Hare Krishna, and so will not allow us to chant enough to reach the perfectional level. And it's very interesting that Kali-Santaran Upanishad says, that I was always wondering before, Sankhya Purvaka, why, so much stress is given to the numbers, Hare Krishna mantra, is transcendental. So why do we have to count? Somehow counting becomes really important in our lives. There has to be 108 beats and minimum 16 rounds, etc., etc. And Prabhupada said 16 rounds is absolute minimum. You cannot go below that if you want to reach the perfection. And, never waste time. If you have time, chant Hare Krishna, all these statements. And in Sad Goswami Ashtaka also says Sankhya Purvaka, that the Goswamis of Vrindavan were also counting. So what is this counting business about? Why do we have to count? But then when I read Kali-Santaran Upanishad, Lord Brahma says, absolutely there are no rules in chanting Hare Krishna, but if you want to achieve full perfection in chanting Hare Krishna, you have to chant this mantra, Maha Mantra, 35 million times. All 16 words, 35 million times means, for you probably it's easier to calculate in lakhs, so it's 350 lakhs time we have to chant Hare Krishna mantra to achieve full perfection. So, and someone calculated, if you chant 16 rounds a day, which is 1,728 times chanting Hare Krishna, that would take more than 50 years. And some people don't live that long, especially if they haven't started chanting from, very early age. So that's why, if we chant more, we will shorten the time which is necessary for us to achieve the perfection, mantra siddhi, perfection in chanting Hare Krishna. So, mantra is really important, but all other processes are there to facilitate our chanting, to help us become more interested, more enthusiastic in our chanting, develop greater understanding. Why are we doing that? Because if we don't have the proper understanding of the value of bhakti, then, we might give it up. And this is what did happen with many devotees, unfortunately. Many of those who started their practices, but then, without realizing the value, they gave it up. There was one funny story about it. There was one young man, and his auntie was extremely wealthy lady in America. And she was very old, and she had a lot of money and plenty of, properties and whatnot, different collections like paintings, ancient paintings, etc. All worth of millions and millions of dollars. And so this young man was actually looking forward to his auntie's departure to get something as inheritance. And this auntie was always saying that, oh, you are my most favorite nephew, etc. So he was counting on that. And so at some point it did happen. And when they opened the will, she was assigning different parts of her wealth to different relatives. And she had some funny, things in her house. For example, there was a crocodile taxiderm. Taxiderm means empty skin of the animal. Sometimes, people like to do this kind of things. They take empty skin of the animal, so they stuff it with something, and so looks like an animal, but it's dead animal. Anyway, there was this alligator taxiderm, huge thing, in her living room. And she was really attached to this taxiderm for some reason. And, different relatives inherited different collections or different properties, her real estates, this and that. And the only thing she signed to her favorite nephew was the taxiderm of the alligator. And that was it. And he was so angry, he was so furious. And someone said, okay, you can collect your inheritance. And he went to the apartment, and she lived in this skyscraper on a very high floor. So he went, and being completely enraged, he picked up this taxiderm. He, flung open the window, and he threw that taxiderm down, being, very angry. And this taxiderm went sailing and got smashed onto the ground. And believe it or not, it was full of diamonds and rubies and emeralds and pearls and sapphires. So it had immense wealth inside. And when this boy, he saw what he did, he started shouting, stop, stop. This is all mine. I dropped that taxiderm. I'm coming down. But it was very busy street. And before he managed to come down, the people around just grabbed different things. And the only thing he was left with was the empty skin of the taxiderm. There was no any wealth anymore. So, he held immense wealth in his hands, but because he didn't understand it was covered with the skin, and he didn't understand what was inside, he just threw it out. So, in a similar way, unfortunately, some of the devotees, they fail sometimes to understand the real value, real wealth of bhakti, and sometimes they think, oh, this is nothing special. So, been there, done that, and they give it up. And they lose not just something, What is material wealth? There is nothing which can compare to Krishna, because Krishna is everything, right? That when the acharyas, they explain this Namachintamani Krishna verse, they are saying that, the holy name is compared to Chintamani, but it is very weak comparison. Chintamani is nothing comparing to the value of the holy name. But holy name, in the material world, there is nothing more valuable than Chintamani. That's why, for the lack of better comparison, so this verse is comparing holy name to Chintamani. Because Chintamani, the only thing it can produce is gold. But what is gold comparing to Krishna, right? Krishna is everything. That's why. And holy name is Krishna. Minatvam nama namino. So, yeah, of course, this is the most important thing for us, to control the mind, chanting the holy name. And then, the intermediate stage is to reach to the level of Paramātmā. And in order to do that, we should conquer the mind. We should shut the mind down to listen to the Supersoul. And it's very interesting that Supersoul is our best well-wisher, of course, being the Supreme Lord. And it's very interesting how Supersoul is acting. One time I gave a class on the topic in DC, Potomac Temple. And one Prabhupada disciple was there, and he shared his realization on the Supersoul. He said, I was driving somewhere with a normal speed, and I was coming to the intersection, to the crossroads, and it was a green light for me, so I was driving peacefully. And then I heard that voice inside of me, slow down. And I was thinking, why do I have to slow down? And then that voice became louder, slow down. And he was saying, why do I have to slow down? It's green light. And then this voice started shouting, slow down now! And he had to press the brake, and luckily it happened right on time, because the car was crossing on the red light with high speed. And if he would not press the brake, they would collide. They would smash against each other, and there was no chance to survive like that. So, Paramātmā knows. We may not know, we may not understand, our mind may not understand, but Paramātmā understands everything, and it guides us perfectly. And there are unlimited, of course, examples of the guidance of the Supersoul. Even for people in the material world, sometimes they have that experience of guidance of the Supersoul, but devotees can reach to the level when they can be guided by the Supersoul in the heart 24/7, and that's really perfect stage. And for that, we need to conquer the mind. So, and if we just wait for our mind to become conquered by the, power of the holy name, it has that power. Holy name has that power. But still, the holy name expects us to do some effort. Why? It's interesting, right? That why Krishna wants us to do something if he can do everything, right? Like Arjuna, there is this Gītamrita and, purpose by the acharyas on the Bhagavad-gītā, and it gives hidden kind of exchanges between Krishna and Arjuna, which are not really recorded in the Gita, and Arjuna is kind of, thinking, Krishna, why do I have to fight? If you want the fight, why can't you fight? Why do I have to do that? But there is a meaning why, Krishna wants us to do the effort, even though he might do everything without our intervention altogether. I mean, Krishna could destroy all the enemies on the Kurukshetra just by glancing at them, if he wanted to. He could just glance at them and they would just disappear. For him, it would not be a big deal. So why spending 18 days and, explaining 18 chapters of Bhagavad-gita? Interesting, right? 18 chapters of Bhagavad-gita enabled Arjuna to become victorious in 18 days. So, interesting number. So, why bother making so much effort and fighting? So, anyone has any idea why Krishna wants us to do the effort?
He wants to glorify his devotee.
He wants to glorify his devotee.
Because the jiva has the minute independence.
Yeah, jiva has minute independence. So, effort would be the proof that we made the right choice, right? Okay, good. Anyone else? Yeah, basically this is the idea that the proof of our sincerity is our effort. There is another story about one very wealthy man, and he had a son who was very lazy. And he didn't want to work at all because, why do you have to work if your father has more money than you can spend in one lifetime, right? Doesn't make any sense. So he wasn't planning to do any work in his lifetime. He just wanted to enjoy in the company of the same, kind of rich man's sons. And father was not happy with that. And father wanted him to work. And he called the son and he said, if you want to inherit my wealth, you have to learn how to work. And the son was thinking, well, this is nonsense. Why do I have to work? But he knew that his father is pretty strict. And if he will not follow the, order of the father, then, he might not, give him any money. So he was thinking, okay, let me pretend that I worked. So he went to his friends and he said, my father has this crazy idea that I have to work and make my own money. Why, I don't know. But can you give me a couple of golden coins? I'll go back to him and tell him that I made that money. So that he would become pacified. So the friend said, oh, not a problem. So they gave him few gold coins. So he went to his father and he said, okay, I made my own money. Here are a few gold coins. And the father was sitting in front of the fireplace. And he said, can I have this money? He said, yeah. So he took the money and threw them into the fire. And the son was thinking, strange, what he is doing, why he's burning the coins. And but he never said anything. And father became angry. He said, you cheated me. You never made that money. And son was thinking, wow, my father is very smart. Probably he knows because I don't have high qualification. How could I make gold coins, few gold coins in a day? So I think I overdid that. And then father said, I give you another chance. Make your own money. Otherwise, you will get nothing from me as inheritance. And the son went back and he told his friends, gold coins didn't work. Can you give me a few silver coins? They said, no problem, have them. So he took the silver coins. He went back to the father. He said, okay, I made this money. Father took these coins again and threw them into the fire. And the son was thinking, what is this strange habit? Why he is burning the money? I never saw him doing that before. And father became even more angry. He said, you cheated me second time. I give you third and very last chance. and if you cheat me again, I guarantee that you get no money from me. And the son was thinking, wow, my father knows everything. How he is knowing all these things? And so he decided to take no chances anymore. And he went looking for a job. But because he had no qualifications, he had to go to some farmer and, hire, get him some day job. And he worked very, very hard all day long. And at the end of the day, the farmer gave him few coppers. And the boy looked at the coins and he said, that's all. And the farmer said, I'm even more generous. You didn't even make that much. So he took those coppers, and he went to the father, and he had, this, how you call it? Can't remember, that something which appears after hard work on the hands. Anyway, you understand what I'm talking about. So he gave him the coins, and the father just threw them into the fire. And then the son shouted, what are you doing? Do you know that I nearly killed myself with these coins and you're trying to burn them? And then he went to the fireplace and he started pushing the coal away, trying to, pull the coins out. And father was smiling, and he was very happy. So he said, now I see you actually worked for this money. So you value that so much. So that story kind of helps us to understand why Krishna wants us to make the effort. Even though he is the wealthiest father of all, and he can give everything for us free of charge, right? But still, he wants us to work. So, and what is the work? What kind of work we have to do is to overcome the influence of duality, because, raga-dvesha vimukta-istu isha-dvesha samudhana. The Bhagavad-gita is full of those statements that in order to advance spiritually, we have to come out of the duality. And duality means not, duḥkheṣu sukheṣu vigata-spriha. This is 256. Bhagavad-gita explains that śīta dharmuni ruchyate, one who is truly wise, and as we know, there are only few people who are wise, most people otherwise. And so those who are wise, they are characterized by these two things. Duḥkheṣu anudignamana, they are fully, equiposed in miserable condition, and sukheṣu vigata-spriha, they are not elated by happiness, right? Neither they are bothered by misery, nor they are elated by happiness. So that should be an effort from our part. And then we get Krishna's mercy. You remember Damodar Lila, we were meditating for the whole Kartik Mas, that, before Yashoda got the mercy of opportunity to tie Krishna, she had to try very hard. And only after trying very hard, she got that opportunity. So first we have to try very hard before Krishna shows his mercy. So this is what Damodar Lila is teaching us. These two fingers, first finger, effort should come first. And the effort should be to overcome that duality. Learn how to do that. So what is the practice? How do we do that? And Srila Prabhupada explains very nicely in the purport that practice is very simple. That you start with the trouble. And whenever the trouble comes, how do we respond to trouble in devotional way? And of course, in the material world, even in Braj Bhumi, there are so many troubles, right? So how do we respond to trouble in devotional way? Anyone remembers what Srila Prabhupada explains? He's stressing that point in number of purposes. He says the trouble we should perceive as Krishna's mercy. Yes. So whenever something troublesome happens to us, the first thing we have to think about how this is good for me, how Krishna's mercy comes through this trouble. And it's interesting, if you practice that, two things might happen. First, sometimes just because you perceive the trouble as Krishna's mercy, trouble goes away. Anyone has had that experience? You just, accept the trouble as Krishna's mercy and trouble disappears. Anyone had that experience? Okay, if you haven't, I recommend it works. In many cases, sometimes of course the trouble doesn't go away because sometimes Krishna wants it to stay for his purposes. But if you perceive it as Krishna's mercy, then it doesn't bother you even if it is there. So it's beneficial in both ways, whether trouble disappears or not. And then happiness, actually, we have to be very careful about happiness, right? Why? Because oftentimes Krishna comes as trouble. Anyone had this experience? When you're in trouble, it's much easier to think of Krishna rather than when you're in a very comfortable and nice position. Anyone had this experience? That in trouble, it's easier to think of Krishna? No one had that experience? At least Draupadi had that experience.
We can think of Krishna in trouble, but we also want the trouble to go away.
Yeah.
We are not comfortable with it. But it's a fact, we remember Krishna.
But at least, we are intensely focusing on Krishna. If there is no trouble, we are in our comfort zone, we might, Hare Krishna, okay, Krishna, you're here, okay, I have my own life to do. Like that, It's very casual interaction with Krishna, but when there is trouble, we are very emotionally addressing Krishna, as Draupadi did, right? When she was in so much trouble. And Krishna really liked that somehow. Krishna really likes our surrender, even if there is some miserable situation we have to go through. And we can see that great devotees, they had to face so many miserable situations, but it helped them to actually become great devotees. And with happiness, we have to be very careful of, right? Why do we have to be very careful of happiness? At least material happiness we're talking about, right? Janma Ishwarya Shudashibi Etamana Madaha Puman. What Kunti Devi says, that these different kinds of material happiness, what do? Janma, high birth, high position. We might not have high birth, but we might have high second birth, initiation, right? And then achieve high position in devotional circles like that. And Aishwarya, wealth, and Shruta, knowledge, and Shribhi, Shri, beauty, etamana badhapuman, that it drives one crazy. So that's the danger of happiness. It might drive one crazy. So that's why we need to be very careful of so-called happiness. So that's our first step, and then Krishna's mercy is there. He can help us to connect to him in the form of a Supersoul. So there's a few words on this topic, and I hope it made some sense, at least to some of you. And a few more minutes. If anyone has any comments, questions, complaints, suggestions, corrections? Yes, Brahma.
Thank you for a very enlightening class. I want to ask 1 second, just tolerate it. It's like 1 second. Let me put it. Not just this Supersoul, we have the prayer of Sarvasya Chaham Riddhi Sanivishtu, the shloka in the Bhagavad-gītā. Then I think the dictionary meaning says the intuition or the indwelling deity. So our heart is saying something. As you said it, that the soft voice is that of the divine, of the God, whereas the demon or the devil is screaming. So Maharaj, I have been praying for long, Sarvasya Chaham Riddhi Sanivishtu, that Paramātmā feature in the Lord to kindly give me remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness. And again in the Bhagavatam, we have the complete description of the Supersoul. These many inches, 8 inches long, wearing the kostuba, the jewels and so on. Okay. So Maharaj, but still I feel a lot of demonic potency or Maya, whatever we may call it, is making its holds through. But when I'm quiet, calm, silent, then we are into the divine nature. But as soon as we land up into some strange place or situation, then the forces start acting. I'm not able to express myself very clearly, but I'm sure you understood what I'm going to say. So how, as you said, our 24 hours we want to be directly connected to Lord Krishna in the personal form. But if the sadhaka is connected to the Supersoul, then he can function very nicely in the material world.
Yeah.
Because if constantly a person is in bewilderment,
Yeah.
with the institution, with the people, with the Maya, that is like, then you will get, after so many years, there's no Krishna,
Yeah.
there's no dictation. Excuse me, it was a little just pouring out my personal feeling.
Okay.
Kindly, whatever you.
Yeah, I hope I understood what you are trying to say, because it is true that the distractions of Maya are very difficult to overcome. Krishna says that himself in the 7:14, Devi Heshagunamayi, Mama Maya Duratyaya, Mama Vaya Prapannante, Maya Mahamtarankite. It's very difficult to overcome the three modes of nature, and only full surrender unto Krishna can help us to overcome that. And so, yeah, we want to fully surrender, but somehow Maya is preventing us from full surrender, right? And how do we come out of this influence? And the first step in resolve is to recognize the problem. So, it's like we were talking about mada. Mada is a very interesting word in Sanskrit, right? Because it means inattention, it means madness, it means pride or arrogance. All these things are mada. Wine is also mada. So intoxication. And so yeah, we want to be sober, but somehow we're in this intoxicated state, and how do we come out of that? Or we are not in the right mind, we can say, right? So how do we come to the proper mindset? So the first step is to recognize the problem, that in psychiatric circles it is understood that someone who recognizes his psychiatric problems can be cured. But those patients who think they're totally normal, they have no chance. So this is the first, that we see how Maya is influencing us, and we try to get out of that influence, of course, by good association, by like Srila Prabhupada said, idle mind is devil's workshop. So by constantly being engaged in devotional service, so that we have no time for getting distracted by Maya. And so there are many things to help us, but it may not happen immediately. It might take a few years, sometimes quite a few years. And sometimes we might think that we are not really advancing spiritually, but it's not true. If we make constant effort, we do advance, but Brahma Samhita says we make very small steps. So, of course, there is a reason for that, because bhakti is very, very precious, because bhakti is the only power which can control Krishna. As we know, Mother Yashoda was controlling Krishna. That's why Mother Yashoda is the real hero of Damodar Lila. Damodar is running away from Mother Yashoda. So, of course, Damodar month is over, but now we have another exciting month, right? Which exciting month have started today? Anyone remembers? And what is the speciality? What was the special thing happening in Braj during this Margashirsha month? Who was performing serious austerities, and for what purpose? Katyayani Vrata. So the gopis were praying to Katyayani Devi, who in Braj is Yogamaya, right? And what did they want? They want Krishna to become their husbands. And so the result was Vastraharana Lila. So what was the prayer of the gopis to Katyayani Devi? And I think we should all remember that prayer by heart and chant, or at least meditate on that prayer the entire Margashirsha month, even though we may not perform the kind of austerities gopis were performing, taking bath in cold water and being very austere in the eating, etc. But the prayer is the essence of it. And so what they were saying, Katyayani Mahamaye Mahayogini Ishwari Nanda Gopasutam Devi Patidme Kurute Namaha. So this is very powerful and very important prayer. Anyone knows this prayer by heart? I highly recommend all of you learn it and meditate on it for the whole Margashirsha month. Because Patim means husband in Sanskrit, but another meaning of Pati means also master, Lord and Master. So who wants to achieve the state of consciousness when you only focus on Krishna as your supreme Lord and Master? Anyone is interested in that? Please raise your hand if you're interested. So let's pray for that. Katyayani Mahamaye. Let's chant it together. Katyayani Mahamaye.
Katyayani Mahamaye.
Mahayogini Ishwari.
Mahayogini Ishwari.
Nanda Gopa Sutam Devi.
Nanda Gopa Sutam Devi.
Patim me kurute namaha.
Patim me kurute namaha.
So, very easy prayer. There are no difficult Sanskrit words in there. Very easy to remember. Takes literally few tries before, it will stick in your mind. So, different things like that. And luckily, we are in Braj Bhumi, and the whole atmosphere is helping us to become Krishna conscious. So, and let's make this conscious internal effort as well, and it will accelerate our process of spiritual advancement. Hare Krishna. So thank you. I think we should stop here, and I wish you all the best with your spiritual practices and serving Vaishnavas and chanting the holy name, and look forward to see you next time, either in here in Sri Vrindavan or anywhere else in our ISKCON world. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad-gītā ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.